welcome to day 6 of Vlogmas. So today we are going through my 2024 disappointments. But before I get into that, we are going to unwrap book number 3 on my advent calendar, which is, The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss. Okay, this book, Meg from Meg with Books is obsessed with this book and she's always talking about it. So I have been very, very intrigued to pick it up. I think I found this one on Vinted earlier this year and was like, need. Also, look how floppy this is. So yeah, very excited to be reading this one. Now, let's get into the books that disappointed me. So I am just gonna kind of caveat, I guess, and say that these books are not bad books. They are not the worst books of the year. Some of them are. They're not books necessarily that I hated. There are some books that I actually did really enjoy, but they just disappointed me. So they might be books where I was expecting it to be a 5-star and it didn't quite live up to the hype. That's very common here, actually. But yeah, let's just go through and I will go through my reasons on why they disappointed me. These are in the order that I read them. This is not like in order of disappointment or anything. So the first book that I'm going to talk about that I read back in January is Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. This is quite a battered copy, so I don't actually know if you can even see the title on it properly. I really enjoy Cassandra Clare. I really enjoy the Shadowhunters universe. And I gave this book 3.5 stars, which again is a good rating. I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. It just didn't quite live up to the 5-star highs of the Chain of Gold series or the Infernal Devices series. I can never remember what the Chain of Gold series is actually called. But those two trilogies, I gave, I think, all of the books 5 stars. I didn't love the Mortal Instruments quite as much. And maybe it was, you know, this one is back in the modern world, and maybe it's I just don't enjoy that modern world setting as much as I enjoy the historical setting. But yeah, this one didn't give me 5-star vibes, unfortunately. Speaking of not giving me 5-star vibes, unfortunately, probably my biggest disappointment of the year in terms of how highly anticipated this book was. I gave this book 4 stars, so I did really enjoy it, but there was a lot that was not good with it. The book I'm talking about, of course, is House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. This book, oh goodness me. I gave House of Earth and Blood, I think I've read House of Earth and Blood maybe 4 or 5 times now, and every single time it's been 5 stars. House of Sky and Breath was a 5-star the first time I read it. Since then it has gone down slightly. It's more of like a 4.5, but it's still a book that I really enjoy. This one, when I looked back through my Cool Pal spreadsheet and I realised I'd given it quite a high 4-star, I was like, well, that's not right. In my head, it had been a 3-star book. And I think the thing with this one is I had a good time when I was reading it, but then I put the book down when I finished and I was like, wait, hang on. Did that happen? What about this? That didn't make sense. And it's then after I finished reading it that all of the things that were wrong with this book kind of came to light. So yeah, I love Sarah J. Maas. I love the characters in this book. I just didn't love the book. I just think it didn't do what I wanted it to do, unfortunately. Next we go on to a book which I no longer own because I unhauled it, which is Godkiller by Hannah Kaner. I was expecting pretty good things with this book. Everybody had been talking about it. I'd heard a lot of people say that it was really good. I'd heard a lot of 5-star reviews. I gave it 2 stars, and I think that was fairly generous. I thought this book was awful. There was a point, and I actually voice noted my friends being like, I'm 30 pages from the end of this book, and I think I might have to DNF. But also, I'm not going to DNF 30 pages from the end of a book. But yeah, there was really nothing that I liked about God Killer. I didn't like the characters. I didn't like the magic. I just, everything about it, I just thought wasn't done as well as it could have been done. And that makes me sad. Next up, one of my favourite authors, Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. Now, Tessa Bailey has pretty much across the board got 4 or 5 stars from me, except Secretly Yours. I gave this one 3.5 stars. It's probably on the low end of that. It's probably actually just a 3. There was really just the one thing with this book that I hated, and that was the virgin trope. And the reason why I hated that so much is, first of all, there is no problem, nothing wrong in the slightest with being 26 and a virgin. That's fine, that's okay. But where I have a problem with the way that that virgin trope was dealt with in here is our main character, Hallie, who is 26 and a virgin, ends up, she kind of like fancies this guy, Julian, and he sort of likes her. Nothing happens. They kind of, when they finally realise that they both like each other, they immediately have sex in the middle of a field. And I'm just like, look, if you've never had sex before and you're 26, you've probably built that up in your head quite a lot. I don't think you would be wanting to lose your virginity in the middle of a field with a guy that you've not even kissed before. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just made it feel a little bit icky. And then I was like, well, what was the point of putting in, of like writing Hallie as a virgin if it's going to be, oh, we're just gonna have sex super quickly? Like, if it had been written in a way that then that formed part of their sex scenes, and, you know, we spoke about virginity, or the concept of virginity, and how, you know, like feelings and things like that. If it had been written in a way that just, I don't know, felt like it was handled a little bit more, I could have got on board with it. And in fact, there are 2 books in my best of books that do that with the virgin trope. It's not the trope that I hate, it's the way that it was handled in here. Anyway, yeah, 3 stars. Wasn't a fan. Next one is Desperate Measures by Katie Roberts. So I gave this book 3 stars. I just didn't really vibe with it. And the reason that this one disappointed me is because I hear so many fantastic things about Katie Roberts. And I was expecting this to be an easy 5-star and love it completely. One of my friends, Shah, has told me that I've started in the wrong place and I should have started with Neon Gods. So I do intend to pick up Neon Gods and try that one. But yeah, Desperate Measures. I didn't really like the plot. I didn't really like the writing. And all in all, a little bit disappointed. Gave it 3 stars, which again, 3 stars is a good rating. It's not making it mean it's a bad book. I still own the book as well. Generally speaking, if I don't like a book, it goes. The fact that I still own so many of these show that, like, it's not that they're bad books. They're not that I didn't like the book. It's just that it disappointed me. Next up, one that actually is unhauled, but I still physically have it in my hands here because it hasn't yet sold on Vinted. Kingdom of the Cursed by Kerry Maniscalco. This is book 2 in the Kingdom of the Wicked series. I liked Kingdom of the Wicked. I think I gave it about 4 stars. I picked up this one. I gave this one 2 stars. I honestly don't know why I finished the book. I should have DNF'd it and just cut my losses. Everything about this book was just either completely ridiculous or well, basically just completely ridiculous. There really wasn't anything that I enjoyed about this book. It just felt ridiculous. I did not have a good time. 2 stars. Next, I want to talk about Hooked by Emily McIntyre. So this is a series. I bought the box set in the works. I was fully influenced by the girlies on TikTok, and I fully thought this is going to be a series that I'm going to get on board with. I like romance. I like dark romance. So I was like, yes, this is going to be good. I did not enjoy it at all. I gave Hooked 3 stars, but it was a kind of 3 stars where I was like, I didn't really like that, but I don't have any reason why I didn't like it. So I have since unhauled the whole series because I'm not going to continue that series. I didn't like it. Speaking of books I've unhauled, The Idea of You by Robin Lee. I had heard so many fantastic things about this book. It had been on my shelves for a couple of years, and every time I posted about it on Instagram, I had probably 3 or 4 people going, oh my God, this book is so incredible. I love it so much. I am not one of those people. I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. But to be totally honest, like it's a Harry Styles fan fiction. And I hadn't fully realised that going in. Because I don't think that it kind of advertises itself anywhere as a Harry Styles fan fiction, but it is a older woman whose daughter is obsessed with this boy band, and she ends up sleeping with one of the members of this boy band. And just no. It just kind of felt, I was like, why am I, hey, not going to yuck anyone's yum? I would totally go for Harry Styles. But also, I don't really want to read that. Wasn't a fan. I haven't actually watched the show. I might still watch it, but the book didn't do it for me. Next, another DNF. Actually, I think this is the first DNF. The first DNF. Waking Gods by Sylvain Nouveau. Oh, I really liked Sleeping Giants. And in fairness, maybe I should have bought the audiobook and audiobooked this one. But by the time I got to this book, it had been a couple of years since I had read Sleeping Giants. And this one there seems to have been a time jump, like after the end of Sleeping Giants, and it just didn't intrigue me. And I've heard lots of people say that the last book, Only Human, is not good. So as this one wasn't intriguing me, I DNF'd and I sort of cut my losses then, which is sad. Speaking of sad and DNFs, A Marvelous Light by Freya Marske. This one is a soft DNF. I do intend to try this book again. But yeah, I was expecting to really enjoy this book. I'm actually going to, also while I'm talking about it, also talk about The Foxglove King by Hannah Witton. These two exactly the same reasons. They're both soft DNFs. I fully intend to try both of them again. But with both of these books, I have friends who had told me that they are fantastic, and that I'm going to love them. And neither of them worked. A Marvelous Light, I didn't really like the writing style or the setting. I didn't really like the Edwardian upper class English society setting. And The Foxglove King, I don't really know. I think that one was a me issue, not a book issue, which is why I'm wanting to give it another go. But I got it's still got a bookmark in, I expect. I got about 100 pages in, and I remember messaging my friends being like, so when does The Foxglove King, like, when does the plot kick in and when does it start getting exciting? And my friend was like, it has already. If you're not feeling it at this point, you need to put the book down because the exciting stuff has started. And I was like, oh. So I will retry both of those two in 2025, but for now, they disappointed me. We've then got The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn. This is the very, very stunning Illumicrate edition. I gave this book 3.5 stars. And when I say this disappointed me, honestly, I don't really know if I'm right with saying that, because it's not that it disappointed me in as much as I was expecting more from it, because I didn't really have high expectations of the book. But The Viscount Who Loved Me is Anthony's story, and I love Anthony's season in Bridgerton. So I didn't get any of the stuff that I love about Anthony in the TV show in the book, and that's really what disappointed me. And is that fair to the book to be putting the TV show expectations onto the book? I don't know. It's probably not fair, but that's what happened. I will continue with the series. My next book will be Benedict's story. I want to read that one, and I want to get to I want to read them all. But I feel like I can't binge them. I feel like I have to kind of take them slowly. But I think I want to read the next one before the next season comes out. Because I think watching the show is ruining the books for me. Not that I think the books are ever going to be 5 stars, but I think that if I didn't have the show expectations, I would possibly enjoy the books a little bit more. Next up, a book that I was really highly anticipating by one of my favourite authors, The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I gave this book 3 stars. It just never hit. So one of the things that I love about Leigh Bardugo is her writing. I love the banter and I love the characters that she builds. Even if, like say Grishaverse, the world's a little bit naff, the story's a little bit meh, but the characters are fantastic and their banter is just impeccable. And in The Familiar, I had none of that. I can't tell you what any of the characters are called. And I read the book in September, I think. I don't know, that there was no banter, there was no humour, there was no sort of communication that felt interesting. Because even in the Ninth House series, there's still that banter and that inter-character communication, let's say, that just is exciting to read. But The Familiar didn't have any of that. Sad face. Next up, okay, I'm going to talk about these two together. Kiss and Love Lessons by Jacqueline Wilson. These are my 2 least favourite Jacqueline Wilson books ever. Kiss, I gave a 2.5 stars. It is the story of a guy who is trying to work out how to come out. He fancies a boy and he ends up kissing this boy. Lovely story, right? Except it's not told from his point of view, it's told from his female best friend's point of view, and she is jealous that he doesn't fancy her. And that's what really annoyed me with it, because the story itself would be perfect if it was told from the boy's point of view, but it's not. It's all about, it's centering his sexuality and his coming out on her, and that I just really disliked. Then we've got Love Lessons by Jacqueline Wilson. I have got a whole rant vlog about these 2 books. Love Lessons I gave 1.5 stars. It was my lowest rated book of the year. This is about a girl who fancies her teacher, and the thing that I have the biggest issue with is the teacher reciprocates that affection and they end up in a clandestine relationship. They end up kissing. I don't think it goes any further than kissing, but even so, a 30-plus-year-old teacher married with 2 children, that's kind of regardless, any teacher should not be kissing a 14 or 15-year-old student. And the fact that I'm needing to say that is where I think the biggest problem with this book is, especially when, okay, no, I'm going to go into a complete rant if I carry on talking about this. Just go and watch my rant video. I go off on one on there. Yeah, those two did not work for me. We've then got the whole reason for the Jacqueline Wilson series this summer, which was Think Again. I gave this one 3.5 stars. It read like fan fiction. And look, there's nothing wrong with fan fiction at all. But if I'm reading, if I'm being pitched, Jacqueline Wilson is writing her most beloved series and her most beloved characters 30 years later, I want it to feel like Jacqueline Wilson is writing that story. And it didn't. It felt like fan fiction, and it felt like fan fiction of someone who hasn't read the books in 20 years, just to the point that the love interest in Think Again is actually a character that we met in the Girls series. In the Girls series, he is called Guy. In Think Again, he is called Gary. Why? No one knows. And it's that sort of inconsistency, and it felt like carelessness that just really bugged me, because I was expecting so much more from that book. Then we've got my final one, which is a DNF on this list, which is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Craigie and Mezzi. So not all of my DNFs are on this list. Not all of my DNFs were like highly anticipated and disappointed me. This is one that was. This one I was expecting a lot of. One of my friends has highly, highly recommended me to read this book. I was expecting to absolutely love it. I made it 50 pages in and I wasn't liking where I thought the book was going. I flicked to the end. It went the way that I thought it was going to go, and I was like, I'm gonna be out. I'm out. I didn't really gel with the writing style. I didn't like the plot. None of the characters gripped me, you know. So yeah, sad. And the final disappointment of the year. I mean, so far, it's the end of November now. I'm hoping that everything I read in December is going to be good and there won't be any more disappointments. But the final one that I'm talking about is The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton. I don't really know what I was expecting from this book, but I gave it a 2.5 stars and I was expecting more than that. I wasn't expecting this to be a 5-star favourite or anything like that, but I was expecting a fun, twisty, solid kind of sci-fi thriller, and actually not even a sci-fi thriller, just a thriller, and it just bored me throughout. Nothing in there kind of interested me, and I was like, well, this is a very dull book that I don't understand the point of. So that was that. Okay, that sums up all of my disappointing books of 2024. Have I made you upset with any of your favourites that disappointed me? Or do you agree with me on any of these? Are any of these books the ones that disappointed you this year? Let me know down below any of your thoughts, feelings, impressions on any of the books. Let me know as well what books you were disappointed in this year. And again, this doesn't mean that they were the worst books. It doesn't mean books you hated. Books that you were expecting to be up here and instead were kind of here. You know, those books that you had high expectations of and they just didn't live up to that. But if you like this video, please leave me a like, subscribe down below. If you want to let me know that you were here and you just want to leave me an emoji, leave me like a sad face emoji. I was going to say a thumbs down emoji, but I think that's just going to cause chaos. So leave me like a sad face emoji. And I will see you tomorrow for tomorrow's Vlogmas video. Bye.